yep. How y'all doing? I love that intro. I love that. First of all, I'm not a real Star Wars fan. I only saw the first one when I was a little kid. What's up, Pops? Welcome to the show, Dad. See you on Wednesday, buddy. See you on Wednesday. Pops coming in from Seattle on Wednesday. Spend a couple weeks here in Kauai. Can't wait. Yeah, so I saw the first Star Wars. That was it. It was good. I enjoyed it. I was young, and but I just never had a desire to watch the rest. So I don't know anything about Star Wars other than this little Yoda, baby Yoda, or whatever he's called, Ragu or whatever. And but the music is what got me. And if many of you probably know that Rocky was is my favorite movie of all time. I love the story. I love the acting. I love just the storyline is solid. This guy, just a normal guy, given an opportunity, takes the opportunity, doesn't win the belt, but learns a lot about himself. And so that music with Baby Yoda, and when I watch the intro, I feel like Baby Yoda in a little ball, floating around, eyes wide open, trying to observe and figure out what the heck is going on around our country and our world. And so I thought that was quite fitting. So anyway, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Monday, I know I told you guys we would have the community first people with the state's health survey. That'll be on Wednesday night, folks. We had a scheduling conflict with one of the guests. We'll have Lisa Rance. She's the executive director of the Hilo Medical Center Foundation, as well as Randy Kuohara, who's the executive director of Community First. And they're going to be sharing with us the CDC uh, is funded this comprehensive health survey. And this is our opportunity as residents of Hawaii to let the state know how we feel the health system is serving us here. So that's our opportunity. The survey is going to run till the end of the month, and we'll have the details on Wednesday night. It'll be an interesting show, and a very important one, because I think it's important. It's very important that our input gets taken, and this is our opportunity. And it covers all facets of healthcare, including transportation and what do we need to improve healthcare for everyone, not just the rich and the famous, but for all of us. Kupuna and Keiki in the rural areas and outlying areas. What I think Dr. Akiona has been talking about for quite some time. By the way, tonight we will have Dr. Miscovich and Dr. Akiona on in a couple of minutes. Try to give us an update on what the heck's going on. We saw Philadelphia today reinstate their indoor mask mandate uh, because the cases are going out of control. There's couple of new variants actually that the World Health Organization is paying attention to. I think it's BA4 and BA5. So yeah, I'm curious to hear more about that from the doctors. Dr. Akiona just texted that she's going to be on a little late, but Dr. Miscovich should be on shortly. So I'm kind of concerned. I watched part of the governor's spotlight today, and he actually, uh, he sends a mixed message, right? He said he has no intentions of lifting or reinstating the mask mandate. However, if things change, then he will consider it. So I mean, obviously, right? We cannot continue. Dr. Miscovich is going to be late too. So you just got me for all. Charlie's late or not showing up. It's probably working. That poor guy. Got to give a little shout out to Charles Iona, who is so busy working down at the airport. That place is a mess, as you can imagine. Statewide, numbers are growing. Uh, Georgette Cabo Hiku Kapulani Bisin Pelekai. Oh, welcome, welcome. I every time I see a new name, I get stoked. Like we are going to have Judge Bisin on later in the month. I don't know if you know Judge Bisson, but he is a candidate for Maui mayor. But we're bringing him on, and we'll have a amazing discussion with him. He has a show he does on his site, and it's Bisson Listens, and he has some pretty cool topics. Pretty cool topics. So We're going to have him on later in the month to share his ideas and what he has planned for Maui. Cannot wait. But as far as COVID goes, I got to say, I'm still seeing a lot of people wearing masks, but I also see a lot of people not wearing masks. I think a lot of people are done with COVID, even though COVID is not done with us. And it's pretty cool to see their happy faces, people being think thinking that everything is back to normal, but it's not. And COVID is the governor again was initially said about our robust sewer treatment, or I mean a sewage testing program, and then one of the reporters, one of the viewers asked a question which they put up on the screen about, hey, isn't it true that the we're far from getting that testing program up to speed? And then he acknowledged that, and he also said, which was quite shocked, I was quite shocked, was that we have upped our robust testing program in the state, which is completely not true. Our testing has been reduced, and then toss in the home testing that's being done, and obviously our counts are not accurate. And that's watching the news last night. I was watching some late news. I can't remember what it was, and it was a mainland story, and the mainland governor was saying the same thing. I can't remember who it was, but he said the same thing. We cannot rely on the numbers because testing numbers are down and the home testing numbers aren't reported. So they acknowledge it. You'll never hear that from our state, that the actual case counts are higher than it was being reported. Um, so it's interesting to see what will happen on Wednesday when we get our weekly report. And I'm dying to find out the cluster report and the sewage report and the variant report. We know for a fact that the BA2 has taken over the country. Well over 70% of the cases now nationwide is BA2. The governor again reported that it was our number was at 40, but that's because it's a week old and this thing replicates or duplicates or spreads so quickly. The bottom line is this, folks: we are not getting accurate numbers. Now, the good news is the hospitalizations from COVID seem to be staying at a lower number. However, the hospitals are full with non-COVID patients, which means a spike in COVID would definitely throw that off and could cause some problems. And I think that is where we really should be uh, proactive. And I think we as the general public should be akamai and practice the safe measures, meaning we should all be wearing masks when we are indoors and around people that we don't know, indoors or outdoors. Uh, I went to Target today. I had to go pick up some items today at Target, and I was kind of surprised that so many people were not wearing masks. A week ago, vast majority of people were wearing masks. So I think as every day goes by, and because we don't have the daily reporting like we used to, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind, and people tend to forget that we're still in a pandemic, that this virus is still very active in other places, and it's active here too. We just don't have the reporting like we should, so we are really being misled by the uh, the true impact of this virus. So let me bring in Dr. Miscovich. What's up, Dr. Miscovich?
How's it going? Good
It's
evening. Good.
it's still going, my friend. It's still going. Let me do this, man. I wanna get up and close to you, buddy.
Wow.
It
Just
doesn't, yeah, it doesn't work well once we get three or four, but it works perfectly fine with two. So, and I really want to see your handsome face, buddy.
I'm smiling. That's all I can say. I'm smiling when I hear you and I see this and know all these wonderful people from the village that are here. What can we say? So
Yeah. Well, I was talking earlier on about uh, Philadelphia today reinstated. I know last week, it was Thursday or Friday, they said that they were going to decide on Monday. Well, they decided today. It didn't take long. They decided to reinstate. the indoor mask mandate simply because the case counts are blowing up. Um, this BA2 and is doing what everyone knows it's going to do. It's been doing for a while, and I was also talking about the fact that the state isn't reporting the numbers on a daily basis like they used to. That in fact, from Wednesday to Wednesday, there really is no talk by our leadership about what's happening. So I think people, Doc, and correct me if I'm wrong, uh, people are just starting to believe that COVID's gone.
Yep.
Um, Yeah,
Yep.
Mona, cruise ships are back. The Inter-Island cruise ship, whatever the heck it's called, left Honolulu last night. It was after 2 years of being docked at the dock, they left last night. First stop, Kauai. So they're here today. I saw a bunch of people down by the harbor, um, outdoors. So not being masked is apparently okay, but there's a ton of people that made it to our shores from that ship. So,
Well,
before I forget, I really got to ask you this question because this came from a viewer in a message, and I'm going to read it to you because I don't want to mess it up. It's quite disturbing actually, but this is in Livingston County, Michigan, and I'm just going to read it to you. It says, "I'm trying to get my mom her next shot or shots, but the county health department, again, this is in Livingston County, Michigan." But the county health department has got my mom and many other homebound people screwed over, all because of the county board of commissioners as they make final COVID shot rulings on homebound people's lives. So apparently up there, the county commissioners put out this um, COVID shot rulings. So what's happening is the homebound patients that are at home are being dropped. She was dropped from getting her because immunocompromised and because of age. Her the CDC recommended three. The first series would be three. So she was dropped from getting her three primary full doses and only got one booster as a half dose. His question is, has Dr. Miscovich ever come across this type of BS, and what is any course of action? So basically his mom, and he's listening, so uh, was turned away or is being turned away from getting any additional vaccinations because of a policy decision that some board of commissioners are making, I guess holding back vaccines from homebound elderly people. Have you heard about that at all?
never. And that's outrageous. I guess I can see myself on this thing, and I I could I was starting to almost growl. I'm like, you've got to be freaking kidding me. These are the people that need it the most, and I don't care if they're homebound. This is where there should have been, efforts to deliver these shots. As people know listening on this show, this is one of the things we do in Arizona and New Mexico. We have specific teams. We did it from day one, and this is what should be happening. The homebound, and I don't care whether you're homebound or you're able to walk 5 miles a day. If you're over 75, your risk of COVID and your risk of death goes up, and that's outrageous. I've never ever could dream that this could be Livingston, right? That was the name of it.
Livingston County, Michigan. Yep.
I'm going to go ahead and look that one up and see if I can give them some kind of recommendations. But the bottom line is there has got to be a way to do it. And now my recommendation to the individual is, first of all, if the morons are doing that, they got to fight the politics. Get mom, find a place in an area that still has vaccinations open, and take the time. I don't care if it's a couple hours. Drive her and get the shot. Take her if you can. Find a way to get her there. If you can't get her there, then reach out to one of those areas and start, finding some places that would consider coming to you. She's got to get the shot. That's outrageous. So
Okay, I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see if I can. Okay, I guess I can pull this up. Hold on, real quick. Hold on, real quick. I'll see if I can share this screen. He's on. His name is Dwayne. He's asking me to share the screen. So let me just do that here, and you can take a look. So there it is. It's This is the CDC severely immunocompromised Livingston County Health Department. First primary full dose, second primary full dose, full strength, third primary full strength, fourth booster half, fifth booster half. But if you look at um, booster number 5, Livingston County has been trying to determine which shot is next, full or half. Um, but I'm not sure why they're allowing a bunch of their county commissioners are like our county councils or city councils. That's what a county commissioner is. It's not health people. It's definitely it's the legislative branch of the city or the town or the county. Uh, so it's pretty interesting how they are deciding on the health of our, especially our elderly and immunocompromised. So
Um, yeah, that doesn't make any sense. This is not following anything because the whole question then would be, what is immunocompromised? What is the medical determination of who is immunocompromised? Because see that you can't just take that generic. Um, some people are like on chemotherapy. Some people have like a medicine that they use for rheumatoid arthritis. There's a big, wide variety of what being immunocompromised is in this whole definition. And to make that just blanket generic statement and go with the half doses, that was almost like they were rationing the medication, because I can tell you that is not out of any best practice. That's not out of any journal. That's not out of anything that just says blanket, this is how you treat immunocompromised. So that just makes me very concerned. That, well, you know what this is? Here's a broader issue. It's a picture of the failure of the United States and why we were the worst country with COVID. And it starts where you had a weak CDC and you had a political CDC. And for the CDC to let this be happening in a county like this with no repercussion whatsoever, or a group like a county commissioners being able to sit there and make this kind of judgment. You know what? This should have been boom, a cold decision. This is what you do. This is what you do, and this is what you do, and you do it in Livingston as same as you do as you do it in Molokai. It's done the same all over the United States, and this is the guideline, and it should have been straight down the line. That's garbage. So.
yeah, but the CDC has been faulty from the beginning. I mean, from day
Totally.
one, totally political. Everything. I mean, even down to masks. I mean, and even the most recent ridiculous chart, their color chart about safe and unsafe or whatever the heck they call it. And every place is green now, right? Some places are a little orange, uh, but they're not. How can Hawaii be green when our positivity rate is upwards of getting pushing 5%? Anywhere what I saw, 4%, 4.5, 4.7%. How can those colors be green when our positivity rate is so high?
Right.
Uh, because according to them, they said we don't just look at cases. You got to look at it all, and all these different metrics got to line up. But you see, Doc, the metrics for Hawaii should not be the same as the metrics for California or Oregon
Exactly.
or Texas or anywhere else in this damn country, because we are a island surrounded by the Pacific Ocean. I mean, and but no one stands up to that, right? No one. Everyone says, "Oh, great, that'll just help us get rid of COVID." This perception that COVID is gone, and these types of statements and policies coming out of the CDC only benefits the politicians that want to convince their people that COVID is gone, and that's dangerous, very dangerous.
Um, Let me read you something I sent to my expert team. This is Dr. Brown and all the people, Dr. Dworkin. We all communicate daily and we share our studies. And when that green, yellow, red came out, I this is what I said. I don't know. I was in this philosophic mood, and I said, this is the future we are facing. Politics versus public health is like a high school football team lining up against Super Bowl champs. Also, they control the clock, and all the referees and officials work for them. If it looks like the public health team is moving the ball and making progress, they change the rules, parentheses, CDC, green, yellow, red, and then they move the goalposts. And the fans in the stands at first notice, but then their Romanesque genetics start supporting the gladiator victory surfaces from their genome. And, and that's just like, that's just what we got. It's just like politicians have totally taken over. It's all political, and it is not being done for the benefit of the people. And it just drives me up a wall, to see that. And that's what that is. Because, if we here in Hawaii have to follow those guidelines, I mean, Tim was on your show and he said it very eloquently as he'd taken his data and did analytics that basically that showed that by the time we hit to the point where we started to move our colors, we are already in trouble, because we know how the hospitalizations are just the way those indicators work. We are already indicating we're going to be exceeding our hospital capacity, and we don't have big hospital capacity. And we can't make our own oxygen here on the islands. Come on, what's so true?
That was a nightmare. Just to think that we couldn't provide oxygen, that oxygen was being rationed in hospitals, that people were being sent home without oxygen because it wasn't available, and told to come back if you're having a hard time breathing. It's amazing how in today's world, right, in this high-tech world we live in, the richest, most powerful country in the world, and we got to ration oxygen in hospitals because we failed to prepare, right? Because I won't say we failed to prepare, because we failed to accept or acknowledge the threat of COVID.
Yeah.
And we thought that Hawaii was going to be different because COVID, for some reason, wasn't going to infect tourists or travelers, and that, it wasn't going to do what it did across the country, even though we saw that trends happen time and time again. But the one thing I wanted to, let's bring on Dr.
Oh, Dr. Akiona's here.
I don't know if you got a chance to watch the governor's spotlight today, but there were a couple of things that he spoke about. And in fact, one of the viewers called him on it. I mentioned this earlier before you popped on, Doc. But one of the things he talked about was, number one, which I was driving, so I really couldn't throw anything because my hands were occupied. But one of the things he mentioned was that of course, the question was about the indoor mask mandate, and because Philadelphia and other places were considering it, and he said he's not considering it. He said that we have upped the I forget what. He said we ramped up the testing in our state. Yeah, he said it. He said it. Go watch it. He said it. He said we have ramped up our testing. We have an amazing surveillance testing program, and that we were one of the first states to utilize testing of our sewage, and he was very proud of that. And in fact, when we get testing through our sewage, we get to get it sequenced 10 days sooner than through normal tests. Now, all of this stuff he was saying, like, he was so excited. Either he's lying or somebody's giving him bad info. And then Yanji popped up a question from a viewer which said, isn't it true that your sewage testing process isn't going to be complete until summer or something like that? And he acknowledged that we weren't even in the meat of the sewage testing program, but he said that was helping us tremendously. But I was really taken aback when he talked about the uptick in testing, because I know that's just simply not true, Doc. And correct me if I'm wrong. You guys are in that testing arena. Have we upped testing in Hawaii?
No, our testing is down probably 75 or 80%. Basically, people are now complaining they can't really get testing, and you have to go to the urgent cares. There's no longer free drive-throughs, or unless you want to go to one of the scammers might be out there, but otherwise, no, our testing is practically gone. And
I should have cut a clip and so I could play it tonight, because I hope all of you trust me. I'm sure many of you watched it, and if any of you watched it and got a different message than I did, please share it in the comments, because I don't want to misquote anyone. That's what I heard, and I know George White is on. I'm sure he probably watched it, but if anyone watched it and got a different message, let me know, please, because honestly I do not want to.
Hey, we got George on. Then we got the freaking data just dead. George, what percent of tests are we doing now versus when we were peaking at Omicron? George will know this in a heartbeat.
I can put it up right here.
Did he put it up already?
No, he just said our surveillance system has been effectively dismantled. No wastewater, no daily reporting, no sentinel surveillance, or our variant reporting is limited.
Amen. I agree.
That is from the, okay, see, so I got it. George answered my question. He said that I was spot on. So I did hear what everyone else heard. Blown away, man. Blown away. And I don't know how he can say that with a straight face and be so proud. I'm afraid that this is not going to go well. And I'm concerned. I really am, Doc. I'm concerned. Now, again, I do want to have a balanced discussion. We do know that from what we're seeing elsewhere is that the hospitalizations have pretty much maintained even with the uptick in cases. And the reason for that simply, Doc, is because of the vaccination rates in these cities that are seeing growth in cases and not a proportionate growth or increase in hospitalizations, because they have higher vaccination rates. But I don't even get started talking about waning immunity and how many people have just basically tossed it. I got to tell you, it's quite frustrating. A lot of my friends I've spoken to recently said they are not going to get boosters. They are not going to get boosters. They feel that they're immune enough and that this virus is not as dangerous, so they're okay with what they're at. And that's what scares me. That's what scares me.
Look, George gave us a number, and I think I was right. It's about 20% of the peak. So it's 3,000 out of 12 to 15,000. So it's like it's going down. I want to bring this up because this was a great article, and this is so important for everybody to understand. Give me about 1 minute, and I'm going to go through it. Now, this article was written by a award-winning journalist out of Canada. So remember, this isn't the United States. This isn't just some crazy. And the title of the article is Sweden's Deadly COVID Failure. And people will see where I'm going with this. There was their chief epidemiologist, a guy named Anders Tegnell, who took what he described as a chilling approach. No masks, no lockdowns, open schools, open restaurants, no guidelines, some guidelines, but no mandates, no fuss. Basically, he came out and said that this virus was like influenza, and he aimed to have exposure so that there would be herd immunity, which he predicted would be in a couple of months. And so as we move on, there was a huge study that just came out in the journal Nature, which again is totally independent of politics. And basically, it gave all the facts. It just came out last week. It stated that they had over 18,000 was their death toll. Yet in Sweden, the death toll was 2,339. Then they compared it to Japan, which basically, early on said it was airborne transmission, which he refused to allow them to say that. And Japan had 200 deaths per million compared to Sweden's 1,730. But here's the highlights. So this is it's 7 important takeaways that they have basically stated. Number 1, there was no strategy. So basically the Swedish government didn't have a real strategy, and it wanted to just let people do whatever they wanted to. Number 2, there was no accountability. That as the crisis went on, Um, the Department of Health still, and the Swedish Department of Health still kind of let things happen in kind of a laissez-faire attitude. Um, Number three, no herd immunity. As we well know, early on, we all heard herd immunity, herd immunity. Well, basically, that never happened, and that was the case. No mask, no face mask recommendations, no face mask mandates. They never did at all. And they did data that calculated how many people died for that. Inadequate care for the elderly. They didn't do anything to really do anything special for the elderly. They were giving them morphine instead of oxygen, is what they said. No transparency on schools or children. They all remained open. They never did anything to stop the schools. And then finally, they said rampant inequality. So throughout, there was rampant inequality of the people who could and could not access to do the things they wanted to do. And so, what's that sound like? You know, it's like, yeah, we didn't go for the full herd immunity, but I mean, we could just paste and cut that in so many places across the United States. And look at those 7 points that we just talked about. I mean, what, 4 or 5 of them we did here, but you know, it's so sad when we know what we know, and then here is a very people know Sweden, very wealthy, great health care, etc., and just people died for no reason. So, anyways, just wanted to get that out.
That was always my position, that we allowed people to die here. I'm only speaking for Hawaii. Had we taken a different approach, and even not even lockdowns, I'm talking about just a better job of screening incoming passengers. If we had just done that properly, there'd be a whole lot of people alive today. I believe.
How about contact tracing? How about
What
having
was that?
real, yeah,
Contact tracing? But not
yeah,
sure. Is
yeah.
that
How about
okay?
real contact tracing? So,
Yeah. Yeah,
let me,
remember the app, the Aloha Safe app that they were so proud about when they unrolled it or unveiled it. Remember all the media that thing got and how we were cutting edge, and I was stoked because this is what South Korea was doing from the beginning. I thought we finally was able to use technology to our benefit. They had this big rah rah rah, paid a ton of money, and then it just never got promoted once. It wouldn't work today because everybody's home testing, but in the peak of Delta and the first Omicron, we could have. That would have been a heck of a tool if we had done it right. So it's just sad. Yeah, I sent the two of you a link on the, I guess it was a New York Times article about the World Health Organization paying attention to the new two variants, the was that BA4 and BA5. Um, Dr. Akiona, have you heard anything, or was that something that that was the first I heard of it. It popped up in my alert, so I didn't have enough time to go do the research. But any ideas about BA4, BA5?
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the keeping up, right? It's just even though things are slowing down, the literature is actually picking up a little bit more because there's time. In the beginning, I was reading a lot of flares, so we were literally just kind of like quickly reviewing and pushing things out and learning in real time. And now there's a lot more. Yes, I did see it, but that was the first one that I actually sat and read the post and then kind of go through where they were getting their information from. So, I mean, it's I do like the way that the World Health Organization that they explain, right? They're like, they keep on reinforcing the idea of what a variant is and what when we're concerned, and the difference between surveillance and when we're actively. And I think the basic science part of things, they just keep on kind of nailing it home. Just okay, so this is something that we're expecting with the virus, like all these different mutations, and this is why we should be a little bit more concerned. And I think the things that are reassuring for me is always that they're when they're showing up in South Africa, just because I know that they're looking. So I mean, it's versus like finding something like the way Sweden would have, which was kind of just by in a bad situation. I did want to say that kind of what Doc was talking about with Sweden. I think that's good that we're able to find something that basically honestly captures the essence of our response, because there is no way we would ever be able to kind of objectively, really detail some of the things that we see, we know. I mean, we've lived through it. We know we made very big time parallels to, we were sitting in those meetings kind of arguing these exact same points for the last 2 years. I mean, but I don't ever think that anyone would actually come out and say those 7 points. So I it's such a weird situation to be in, because I remember, thinking Sweden is doing the control group. Essentially, they're just, what would happen if the virus went wild, and I didn't expect that from a wealthy country. But I mean, so when people ask me, when we were saying, hey, don't make yourself a control, give yourself a chance to do better. I mean, now we have solid data that Sweden did the control thing and it was not a good idea. And that's a country that, we consider, I guess, a little bit easier to compare ourselves to than like the African countries. But so that was really good. I'm glad you got that. I'm glad you summarized those points, because it's eerie, like how closely we lived those points exactly, like over the last 2 years.
And
You
how
would think that by now we would have learned so much about this COVID.
Well, because we were saying those things. I feel like that was the very beginning. It was like, we got to watch out for, got to make sure that there's equitable access. We got to make sure that we're focusing on the elderly. We got to make, it was all the things that it's in a sad way. It's one of those, like, it's like winning a posthumous award. It's like, after all the suffering, it's nice to hear that what Doc was saying was correct. And I mean, it's just irritating because it's a lot
No one
of,
listened, because no one listened. That's
and
the
it wasn't
bottom line.
like we weren't yelling it.
I know that.
I would love, what I would love to do? I would love to take a core group, take all your old shows and all the people you've had. And again, I'm not bragging about my TV time, but I was out there and I just spoke it, and my TV time and Tim's and Dr. Dworkin's and everyone, and just go through it and just put it. We were 2, 3, 4 months always ahead of what eventually was determined. And I will be sitting here and I will say, we were never wrong. And I mean never. We were never like way off the mark or like, oh yeah, no. We were always using the science, and it was so predictable, because 4 months ago, you just, there were like, Omicron was a little bit of a surprise, but we always said there could be other variants. There it was. So come on, we're sitting here, we can do this. How did the CDC not do this? How did leadership in departments of health not do this? Because if we acted sooner, I mean, every time we had a variant, we waited till the variant was all over the islands and it was already spreading. And then we said, oh, we have a variant. We were going to take our masks off last. Oh, no, never mind. We have a variant. Well, we've been saying we've got a variant coming for 4 months. So,
when you're testing 12 to 15,000 people a day, and you're sequencing 75 tests per week, and that is taking weeks to do, you never catch the variant. I mean, by the time you discovered the variant, it's just too late. I gotta believe that this next variant report that comes out, I think BA2 will be 80%. If not closer to 100. So
yeah,
they know this is going to happen just because the simple nature of this virus, right?
Well, and we're able to watch trends.
No,
and
it
was driving me nuts, right?
Again, they don't think that Hawaii was going to follow the trends, right? They just thought we were different, and they thought that of the original COVID. They thought that of Delta. They thought that of Omicron. They thought that every step along the way, their actions showed me anyway that they thought that we were going to be free from the trends that were happening in the world, East Coast, Midwest, West Coast. They thought it was going to change their course before they got to Hawaii, and every single time
I don't understand.
They were
with
rough.
our focus on travel, when we're focused on getting people to come back, that I don't understand how, like it's not like we're trying actively to keep the virus out or doing anything to stop it from coming to us. And so I think I look at the Pacific and some of the islands, right, that were just absolutely shut down and remained shut down until fairly recently, and then started letting their people come back, and then everything explodes. And so I'm just kind of like, I don't, I mean, even like just regular people on the streets would ask me, like, how do people, like, what is going on? Because it's just kind of like, how did they not see that, having the tourism come back means that we're definitely going to fall? And it's like average people, right? And so, it's willful ignorance, which I think is part of the, like, I don't understand, because there was a point where we were wondering, what, who's benefiting from any of this? Because it's just,
Yeah, it was only one group of people.
yeah,
We know the industry. Willful ignorance to me is the same as negligence,
it's
and
negligent.
it's just total negligence, and I think should be punishable by law because they had opportunities to keep people alive. They had many opportunities to prevent the type of illness that we had, and some people still say that the numbers of deaths were low. I hear it you don't even know how it bugs me when I hear our lieutenant governor or governor or any of these elected officials mention that we had the lowest numbers of deaths per capita. Like it was an
Well,
acceptable number.
there was this point, no, and I remember, because I was sitting in on the Department of Health. They have a really good, like a good group that kind of analyzes data. They were presenting it in a way that basically we became a victim of our own success. And I remember them because they called us out. They called Dr. Miscovich out. I mean, in a good way. So they said, and it was a bunch of people that I worked with peripherally. They knew about us because I would plug in. I would kind of let them know, hey, I'm calling in from Pahala, or I'm calling in from wherever. And they said, so, with, relatively speaking, the United States did not do a good job, but we were we were low for our death rates. And they put Premier out there. They said, we really feel like if Premier didn't yell and scream and make sure that we were out there, they thanked us. And this was like, had like a year ago, because and we were talking about how oftentimes when you do a good thing, like, you end up becoming a victim of your own success. So our death rates were low, and we were talking about how now it gave this artificial kind of like, things are great in Hawaii. And then the data was kind of, when we really had to like drill down to show how, despite the good, quote, good data for death, that, it was still disproportionately Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders, that they were still, we had to like tell the full story, because these data points, it was beautiful. Like, the states were all clustered on this side, we were all the way on the other side. And I remember that because they said, hey, if Dr. Miscovich wasn't fighting for, for us, a couple of doctors actually just said they felt like we were successful because a few doctors were very vocal. And that, I mean, that I remember calling him and just letting him know. it's it drives me nuts, because they've been using that same data point and that same kind of moment in time. It was a snapshot of time, it was way back when, and saying it again and again like it matters. And we brought it up that day, that it doesn't matter when it's families, right? People's family
You know,
members passing away.
Melissa brings up a good point. Her question: what about non-COVID illnesses that died waiting for access to care? They don't acknowledge. They don't acknowledge. They are not acknowledged in any count. It's really sad. I remember Dr. Murtaza Akhtar very early on in the show. He was from Arizona at the time. I think he's now on the East Coast, but he was in Arizona where they were piling up bodies. It was like how New York was in the early onset of COVID, and he shared some of those stories. But I remember him saying this. This was very profound to me, and it stayed with me. Was that you cannot just count the people that die from COVID. You have to consider those people. Exactly what Melissa just asked. Those people that put off care, could not
Mhm.
get care, or chose not to go because they were afraid to get to a hospital because COVID was so rampant. Those people's conditions worsen. People that didn't get their medical ailments treated properly because COVID was occupying most of the hospitals. So that is a very good question, and I do not believe anyone. And even if someone did that study, I can't
There
see
are.
any government agency publicizing that because of potential liability.
No,
Hey,
actually, Doc, you sent one.
yeah, wait. Well, Brian, who's another great person with stats and who has been a fabulous guy to be connecting with, could probably pull that data up for us right now because they do what they do. Here's, I guess, I'm going to give you just a real basic way they do the data. So this is non-COVID. This is how many deaths we normally have in a year, with the projections that maybe cancer deaths go down a little bit, heart disease goes down, or and certain go up, because we can kind of have a little bit of predictability year to year to year. So that's what the normal curve is. Then you add COVID on top, and we have this many COVID deaths, which is that difference of the million or so that we're at right now. But then there's another curve in here, which is, wait a second, this curve for the number of deaths from cancers and heart disease should have been here, but it's actually up here. Um, it's, wait a second. So that number right there, and I think Brian did show it. I think there's like about, at least, I know it's at least, my brain's telling me because I see so many studies, 300,000-400,000 on top of that, and it's probably a lot more. The number's probably higher, not lower, but it can be calculated, to say the least. So, um,
No
I
but
worries.
thought, yeah, I thought I saw someone post a million in excess deaths. I don't know what the number is, but all I know is that there's a lot of people that lost their lives because of that exact reason, and that has to be taken into account when we look at the total impact of COVID.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
and then again, the other gigantic number of the long COVID
On COVID.
people, the patients that
Mhm.
are struggling right now, and possibly, not being able to survive maybe a year or two down the road, and they will die from an ailment after COVID is long gone from their
yeah.
body. And how will that be counted? So, I mean, this is just a horrific thing, and it bothers me when people minimize it. It really does, because there's so many facets to COVID, including long COVID,
Mhm.
that this is a crappy disease.
Yeah.
It's
And the people
bad
who missed the
parenting disease.
care. There was I know that Doc had sent forward one of those because it was, all the people whose preventive health care has been delayed. And so, how many chest CTs that we typically would have done that we didn't do because we were all tele and we were all, kind of staying away from care. A lot of offices have closed, and the colonoscopies and all of the regular preventive health stuff. And so, like there are actual agencies that really are kind of focusing on this. And then particularly the ones that are focused on the health disparities, because they're really anticipating, right? Not only were these people, so the vulnerable and the marginalized, most likely to be exposed to the virus, they are most likely to have it, and then they're less likely to get care. And so, like, both the long COVID risk is higher, and then they were less likely to catch up with all of their regular care. And so it's kind of like, pushing that spoon up the hill, because it's just we're anticipating a lot more, um, you know, late cancer catches. So a lot of my friends that are radiation oncologists are already getting that, right? So they're getting the stage fours because they couldn't get them before, or the lumps that by the time they're getting to them have already become adenopathies, and so they've already got complications, and so they're already seeing it. And I think that's the hard part, right? Is it's at least in the Big Island. So at least I know on the Big Island they were doing this access to health kind of thing. And if anybody gets that the link, I think it's worthwhile, because what I was realizing is the more, when we're talking to people, reporting back to all of these funding agencies and stuff, it was kind of impactful for me to say how many times, how many tests we got, how many positives. But I think actually what made a huge difference was the little individual family stories. The people whose care was delayed, or people who couldn't find, a vaccine or something like that. Those ones kind of, it sits with a lot of these legislators a little bit. But I mean, I don't know how much it'll make a difference, but I think if you guys, if you have a personal story about that kind of stuff, it really, really makes these numbers a little bit more personal. They can't ignore it. And so I know that at least on the Big Island, they were doing that access to health survey. And that was one of the things that I was encouraging the patients to do, is just, if you've had an issue with getting access, tell those people, because they are sitting in front of, agencies, the government, the legislators. They're going to shots, and they're going to, all these people, and they're saying, hey, this is what we're hearing in our community. And so I think, wherever you guys can, I would encourage people to just share your own personal stories. Then they can't make you a number.
I'll do a PSA right now. Public service announcement. You talk about the Access to Care survey. We spoke of this before you came on, but we have Lisa Rance. I'm sure you know Lisa.
Yes, mention
From
me.
Hilo Medical Center Foundation, and Randy Kuohara from Community First. They're going to be on the show on Wednesday to talk about that Access to Care survey. We're going to try to
Yes,
get
I
all
complain
of
to them
us.
all the time.
Well, they reached out to us and asked if we would be willing to allow them to come, or they wanted us to promote the survey. And I said, no, you come on the show and promote the survey. You folks promote the survey. But I did get on the survey, and like I was explaining to the village before you all came on, was this is our opportunity now, because it touches on every aspect of healthcare, from transportation. Is transportation a hurdle for you? Is finding a PCP a hurdle? Whatever, as Dr. Akiona just said, whatever is your hurdles or whatever you're experiencing, this is our opportunity, and we have to the end of the month to do the survey, and they'll compile the data and present it to our state. What the state does with it, I cannot promise you, but they will have the data from as many people that are willing to take that survey. So that'll be on Wednesday night. So I'm excited to get that on, and I'm hoping that the village will take part. I really do, because it's important. I think, Doc, you two things. Number one, Dr. Akiona, you've been pounding the bushes for a long time.
Bushes, yeah.
Pounding the bushes for a long time. Dr. Miscovich, so there was a comment earlier about George mentioned about how he and many others are so thankful for what your group did in the health in the care homes and in the private parking lots to take care of our jail guards and our correctional facility employees that were basically left out to hang. But you folks went out and filled those gaps, and you continue to do so. So I just want to say, it's those are the gaps that we need to share, so the state, who should be filling those gaps, can do their part. And it only works if we can get the information and the data to the decision makers and policymakers. So, but I did want to put that plug into the two of you and your entire group for all that you've done in 2 years. My gosh, I wonder, and George can probably appreciate this, and many of you, that if not for Premier Medical, if not for Dr. Miscovich, Dr. Akiona, and your entire team, there's a lot of people out there that make up Premier. If not for you folks, how many more deaths would we have had? How many more illnesses would we have had? How many more long haul or long COVID patients would we have had right now? You cannot put a number to that. It's you guys work, save lives, and just want to say thank you, man. Just want to say thank you. You're muted, Doc.
Yeah, my wife was doing the dishwasher. I want to give another shout out to my team, which is something right from like April, May of the very first year. And we just stopped doing it, although we're on call longshore. We did Young Brothers, we did Pasha, we did Matson, and we were down there 2 to 3 days a week. When you heard like there was a team that was positive on a Young Brothers, we flew a team over to Maui to hook up with that team when they came right off the barge, and worked and coordinated with them. Great people. I have so much respect, because I've got to know them through their work comp, but I also just have become so close with our longshoremen, how key they are to our state. I mean, that's what keeps our state open. And for our state to have ignored the importance of keeping our docks open, it's just outrageous. It's just outrageous. And that's just kind of the stuff that, the selfless people that have worked for our group, we just said, no, those are important people. And my God, if the nursing homes, if I ever get time, we're working on the data. We want to write up a study about how amazing we did. And I also want to say something. We have to throw the shout out to the employees at the nursing home and to the leadership. It was all hands on deck and everybody worked together, because when you had those outbreaks, you had to be testing, because you would get a positive here and then 2 days later another positive, then 3 days later another positive, and you had to go on and test until you had 14 days of no positives, knowing the disease, and just being persistent is how you save those lives. And unbelievable to say the least of how important those things are. And I'm just proud of all the people who have been with us. I'm proud of the people of Hawaii that came together, and the families and the leadership. Those are the stories. We have the politicians that are talking here, but the selfless stories. Interestingly, healthcare, there was a study that came out today, and the study basically said there are 2 positions that are going to be the most difficult to fill and are having the highest losses in all of healthcare. Number 1 was physicians. We're losing 20% of the physicians across the United States. But number 2 was the care home employees that are the aides and the people that are at the real working hard level of the care homes. They got devastated through this. Not only did they get the disease, but they had to work long hours and things like that. And that's the hardest job now there is to fill, that with the most losses. And I'm bringing this up, not saying this because it goes back to what we started about, is this group that's looking at what do we do in rural areas and what do we do. Man, it is just going to be a big job. And this cannot be political. It's got to be something that the real people come together and do it. So, yeah.
I don't want to talk about politics, but have you guys noticed how many of these legislators now and all these candidates for office are popping up on the news on different non-COVID stories, of course, and how many of them are now starting to post on their social media, non-COVID, of course. I don't know if you guys notice that, but I do. It's like where all of a sudden it's just, I'm here at this. We're celebrating this person. We did a proclamation. This is John Doe Day for whatever, saving a cat from the sewer or whatever it is. And all of a sudden they're all out. It's like, wow, 2 years they were in hiding, and now they're all popping up.
Makes me want to puke. I know, Mel, I see it and I notice it, and it just makes me just nauseous looking at it, because we predicted it. Another thing we predicted right here on the Mel and Charlie show, and we just said the village knew, that they're all there. They're all going to come out and ask for your vote, but where are they? They were there. They didn't do diddly squat, and they let the governor do nothing. And
it's bizarre. It's just bizarre.
Yeah.
But I vote, and I can tell you that I ain't voting for anybody that went dark in the last 2 years. I'm not. I'm getting my friend or not. You ain't getting my vote. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
You just cannot show up. It's like if you show up at the game and you never participate in the practice and all the hard work that led up to the game. Guess what? You ride the pine. And I'm hoping that a lot of these people ride the pine, because we need people that go up there and work and stand up and speak for the people. Just no more COVID fairy dust was thinking at midnight on March 26th. That's cute.
That was good.
Going up.
Thank you.
It's so funny. I was like, was that kind of like tied into the funding? Really, what was the deal? Or yeah.
It's the other one. Sorry. No, and I think
sorry, wrong one. This thing scrolls so fast, man.
There you go.
Yeah, the normal COVID fairy dust.
every now
That's
and
it,
then it's
Mo.
like nice to look back and kind of see where we're at, because it is, you know, this is it's a difficult kind of moment in time, because ideally, you know, we're trying to prevent bad things from happening, but I think some people just are like, it's such an uphill battle. Like, how do we?
Well, we really we're going to need unbelievable leadership out of our Senate and House health committees, which is, you know, asking a lot because they barely ever do anything. And we're going to need our next Department of Health is going to have to be key, and because we have a lot of big trouble, you know, out there, and you know, our opioid epidemic with the amount of fentanyl that we have proceeding into this state is just really bad right now, and so that's really bad. And of course, they go hand in hand with homelessness, right? And we get these little pixie dust
Oh,
point in time counts when we all know that homelessness is probably likely doubled
yeah.
during COVID. Yet, you know, we try to get the little fluffiness, like, oh yeah, we're doing better, you know, and things like that. So, and then the other thing that we know has escalated significantly is mental health. You know,
Mhm.
COVID has put a big strain on the mental health, and so when you look at those three core issues, which I think, I don't know, people in the village don't know, but I've devoted a huge part of my life to helping fight those. Prior to COVID, you know, I was put in charge of Senate committees and House committees in states, and I started nonprofits for homelessness. Um, they're massive, and you don't fix them overnight. And there's got to be this massive unified approach to fix those. And we're going to be doing that with two hands tied behind our back, because
Yeah.
basically the Big Island is decimated when it comes to having access to health care or quality health care. And you know, the access to care is just going to be tremendously um, challenging, and we're doing nothing to fix it. You know, all we do is count every year. We count, oh, you know, we're short another 150 doctors this year,
No.
and let's count
Like,
next
just
year. And
pay us, dang it.
yeah, let's just we're just losing doctors if we've been counting every year for 10 years. And again, that is the definition of insanity, is you do the same thing every year and you hope for a different result. No, we're not doing anything about it. You know, we haven't done anything successfully to do it. So, you know, so we are we are all over this state challenge for healthcare, and that costs lives. There are people who are dying right now, and when you sit in the seats we do, where we know what goes on, and you know how long it takes people to get in to get care, or how long it takes to get certain things done, or that there are some pretty crummy doctors that are still here. And hey, I'm the first person to say, and Dr. Akiona will agree, just like any profession, there's really good ones, and then there's ones you just go, oh my God. And some of these people still survive, and our medical boards and our state licensing doesn't do diddly squat, and they still survive here. And it's like,
Especially in the rural areas.
yeah, especially, and again,
Because there's no one
it,
looking.
it happens in every profession.
Yeah.
And to know that some of these people are busy, and you just go, oh God, I would never. It's just ridiculous. So we have a huge issue moving forward, and I'm questioning: does anybody have the wherewithal and the leadership to really tackle this? Because it really needs it badly. So
Some
Well,
good
and there's
points.
that
And it's
the
kind of
core.
scary. It's kind of scary.
It's
yeah.
scary
Well,
because I'm still young enough to have to work for a long time, and I mean, I told Doc the other day that, you know, I was realizing how many different organizations were relying on us just filling the gap, and you know, it's worth it's fulfilling, right? So it's like you see the patient, you make a difference, and in that moment, it's 1000% worth it. But then I have to explain to my office manager why I'm working for free again, and it gets harder and harder and harder. And I think, when we summarize, it's it's a little bit of pride, right, that we could do so much with so little, but when no one is willing to kind of to pay us for any of that effort, we're like, I think Brian brought up, a lot of the insurance companies are making money from our work. We were preventing people from dying. We were preventing people from utilizing emergency services. We did a lot, and we filled the gap, and a lot of organizations benefited from that. And we, as PCPs, we did, like Doc was saying, we devote a lot of our time to addiction, to mental health issues. And so that person in front of me, COVID or not, we are talking to them about their addiction and their mental health issues and trying to get them all their services. And that's, I think that's one of the things that I've been trying to talk with my colleagues about, because even they don't understand how valuable they are, because we're just trying to survive, right? And then it's just one less provider impacts everybody. Just the entire state gets impacted. Each one that just retires, that moves on, and I'm one of those that are like, why am I doing this, like, day in and day out? Someday I gotta call Dr. Miscovich and tell him, like, is this what we've signed up for? This is the future.
Well, yeah, and then I think we haven't talked about this. We're talking about the future, so but people need to understand. And then over here, and you guys in Kauai have a little bit of this touching you, but over here we have the two big giants that are basically just battling it out. And most people, if you're not in healthcare, they just don't realize what healthcare is in the state of Hawaii. Okay, giant number one, Queens. Giant number two is HPH, Hawaii Pacific Health. They are multi-billion-dollar organizations that are ruthlessly trying to beat the other one. There is such a massive, competition. They steal each other's doctors all the time. One doctor goes and leaves the other, and the other goes and leaves. Look at what just happened. Queens announces it's building this and remodeling this, a $1 billion renovation. HPH 2 months later announces their $1 billion new tower, right? And then the giants are out there building new spots and building new buildings. And like we all know, like the inside way they run their facilities is like the most inefficient. And, the doctors are just these little cogs in the wheel, as it's all run by the administrators, because basically the doctors are just the shovels putting the coal into the coal oven, which is firing the hospital's revenue stream. That's what it is. And I'm not saying there's not good doctors there and things like that. Don't take me this the wrong way. And Queens is great, and there are great doctors. But I'm talking about the big. And then you have the workhorse, and it's a big workhorse that just can really pull its load, and that's Kaiser. And Kaiser is just steady as it goes and just keeps on doing it, and it just keeps chugging along. And that's healthcare in Hawaii, is those three big organizations fighting to control each other on the island of Oahu. And then, the neighbor islands get the trickle down, right? They'll get whatever trickles down. Kauai has Wilcox, but it's pretty independent. And then, Maui has got that pseudo Kaiseroid hospital, but it's really nothing. It's not. It's just Maui's on its own and scrambling, and then the Big Island is just destitute over there. So, what people need to understand. Go ahead. So
no. Go ahead.
What people need to understand is we need the independent doctors to survive. We need there to be a fourth option for the people of Hawaii. And that is, if it's Kaiser or Queens or HPH, if you decide, well, that's fine. but you want to have the option where doctors can be there for you. And guess who those doctors work for? You, not the hospital. They're not feeding coal into the oven. They don't have to send you to their specialist. They send you to who's the right person. So, I mean, our state desperately needs to maintain the independent doctor practices that are working for the people, and you know, we need to find a way to keep that going, you know, because.
And there's the other big giant that is called the insurance companies. Remember when your doctor dictated your health care? You remember back then when you would go see your doctor, and the doctor would right away tell you what you needed to do or where you needed to go. And now it's not the case, right? And I go to an independent clinic. I go to Cahill Medical. My doctor is Dr. King. One thing I like about that is, depending on the condition or the situation, they send you to who they believe is best for your condition. So they're not obligated. So, you know, obviously for my kidney stone, I'll go to Queens. You know, I'll be treated at Aloha Urology. But when I had my neck, I was at Straub. They'll put me in front of the doctors that they believe can be best for me. And there's no second guess or second thought. It's just, here's your referral, go get it done, right? I remember being in the doctors seeing the specialist at Wilcox, and the doc and I we talking over something had come up in my blood test, and then I said, you know, you want to go do a CAT scan? Why don't I do a CAT scan or MRI? Oh, we got to send off the thing to the insurance company. We cannot do it until we get approval from your insurance company. How long does that take? We typically get it back within a week or two. I'm like, oh, really? Because the insurance company is going to dictate the treatment that I get from my doctor, who's the specialist, who's the expert. That's the kind of healthcare and that we have today. It's all controlled by the corporations and the insurance, right? Who the hell is the insurance company to say, no, you don't need that MRI? And I have yet to be denied an MRI or a CAT scan. So it's just the bureaucracy, the crap that you gotta go in front of some board to say that it's okay. Why shouldn't the doctor be the one to make that call and the insurance company be required to cover it?
Because it's their way, right? So they were like, "Oh, the doctors are overdoing it." And it's interesting because it was like the people really bought into that we were the problem, and to the point where, you know, we're not even a tiny bit of the money that goes into healthcare. It's like 80-90% of it is all the administrators. Like it's just so a small, but it's still like when things go wrong, it's still, your doctor probably didn't do this, and I'm like, oh my god, you have no clue. I mean, you know, we used to I in residency, we were up like all night just doing tasks, just refills, just you know, submitting imaging, signing off on reports. It's ridiculous. And then, you know, the Mother May I game, and it's like not just Mother May I, but Mother May I, and then we have to like look into the future and be like, this is what I think I'm gonna do. It's, I mean, you know, you get pretty good at it, but I mean, you know, a lot of my like pediatrics, I know that they had pushed back a lot because they were saying, you know, essentially they were saying the insurance companies were practicing medicine without a license, and so then they would make sure that it would go, you know, we're talking doc to doc instead, and that's even worse, that we're fighting our own people, that they have of, you know, people in their pockets to kind of try their only job is to make it harder for us to get what we need done. It's crazy.
Well, actually, you know, Mel, we may be on to something that that this may be a wonderful forum. You're taking it on Wednesday's show, and that is to start looking at how do we help transform healthcare in Hawaii, you know, because it has a parallel track with COVID, because, you know, because the failures with COVID showed where we need to go. And you know, I think that there's such a brilliant listener group here that comes from so many different places and all over. You know, this could be a really valuable way to get real input, because that's what's failing in our state. When I started this little soliloquy about, we need to look at all these different items, they basically only go to the people to get the answers that they want to get. And they don't get the whole community, because it's just like what we did with COVID. It's like they just want to have everybody say how great they did, but they don't want to talk to the people who lost family members, or talk to the people who lost people. No, talk to you, because you're going to have negatives. We want to stay here. So, yeah.
In the survey, one of the choices, what, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but it says, like, what is a reason that you would not seek health care? And one of the options, or one of the choices that you could check was you didn't like the personality or bedside manner of the provider. And you check as many as it applies to you. So I'm very excited about Wednesday, but I'm even more excited, Doc, about getting the data when it's done, and to see what's the percentage of people that are saying, I ain't going to the doctor because the line is too long, or whatever the case may be. What is the real reason that people are not seeking medical help? And I suspect a lot of it is transportation. Like Dr. Akiona, you know that firsthand. I know a lot of people that just cannot get in, especially here on Kauai, in the rural, like the Big Island. You don't have the bus service like you do on Oahu. So if you're far from a bus stop, you ain't getting a ride. So I'm more excited at seeing the results once the data is compiled, and hopefully we'll build a relationship with these two people on Wednesday, that they'll be willing to come back on and share the results.
Well, they'll come back. They're my buddies.
Oh, you know them? Okay, cool.
No, I mean, I literally tell them all the challenges, because I mean, Lisa was there, so she took over shortly after I was the first chief resident for the residency here in Hilo. So she's been listening, basically, like, what is the experience?
Is she a doctor?
No. No, so she's the president, she's the executive director of the foundation. And so Hilo Medical Center, so our residency was separate. So we were not affiliated with JABSM. And so there's a lot of different types of challenges that comes with a community-based residency program. And part of it really was, they didn't know what a resident was. We had to reteach people again. And now we had rules. We were very strict rules. And so they were the fundraising arm of the hospital. And so a lot of we had to do the photo ops and show up, and we would volunteer. And so she watched the challenges, right? And so the idea was, you're supposed to be bringing in resident docs, and they were supposed to go into the workforce. And so she's seen all the challenges. It's like, so where are they? Like, where, what happened? And then and we've had enough time now, right, to kind of see that it wasn't, like people were saying, oh, it's difficult personalities, or it's just they're divas or something like that. It's bigger. It was bigger than that. It was a lot more than just a poor fit.
Well, this, like with any survey, with any poll, the data will only be as good as the data we put in, right? So it's going to be vital that everyone. I would hope every one of the villagers would want it done. And hopefully they will have a message that will, resonate with our villagers. And I'm hoping that we get a good turnout. So share the heck out of it, and let's get as many people on and as many people with that survey. Because I think, like you said, Doc, it'll start the dialogue, right? It'll start the dialogue between the hospitals, the state, and whoever else, Department of Health. So we can start identifying, like anything else, right? You got to identify the problem before you can fix the problem. I cannot believe that some of these problems are so evident, though, Doc.
Well,
transportation. Hello.
I know. 20 years later, it's still.
I mean, we can. This is, and again, I hate to start beating up on the visitor industry, but we can have an amazing network of shuttles to get people from the airport to their hotels in Waikiki or anywhere else. That's just you got to do it right. You got to provide that shuttle service. I see some of the shopping centers have shuttle services. Golf courses have shuttle services, but we cannot provide transportation for our people that live in the rural areas for health care. So I hope that this survey comes out, identifies the major issues, and that collectively, we come up with a solution that can get our people the help they needed.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know, man. You guys are
Um,
angels, though. There's a special place in heaven for all of you healthcare workers, and I mean, from the doctors on down to the staff. You guys, you got to battle this every single day and deal with the frustrations while having to go out and help people. So, yeah, thank you guys, man. Thank you guys.
Okay.
It's
Go
ahead.
I
Go ahead,
look
Doc.
back, because, and I just kind of sometimes, I've been in a reflective place because, I've worked straight for 2 years, 7 days a week, flying all over, doing everything. And I look back and I just say, should I have done something different? Would I have done anything different? Could we have, approached things? And I can't. I mean, we were so, no, I mean, I would not have done anything different. And I think that's important in life when you kind of look back and start saying, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done this. And like I said, I got battered politically, the state, just, oh God, I have so many bruises from just people, whether and battles with insurance companies and battles with everybody, just fighting on so many things. But like, you see Dr. Akiona and how sincere she is, and then you see the other anywhere from 200 to 300 people that we have working with us here. Everybody was for the right reason. It was for the people, and Dr. Akiona knows how much I said this. We're not going to stop. We're not going to, there's so many times we just wanted to pull out of the big island, or stop doing what we're doing. But we said, no, we're doing it for the people. We're going to stay working for the people. And I look back and, I know my Christian side pushed me hard. It was like, it was why I'm on this earth. I think these last 2 years kind of were a culmination for me to really just say, it's why I became a physician. It's why this was my calling and my reason I'm living. And it was not a job. It wasn't a career. It was a calling. And to have so many amazing people around us that shared our culture, that did the same thing that we're saying, it just makes me proud. The people are just amazing. And then the response that kept me going, and I think kept our people going, was the people. It was how much the true aloha came from the people of Hawaii, and that's why we kept on going. And so it's, I'm not going to deny it. It's been really, really, it's been hard. It's been challenging and bruising, and it's not much financial, but lost massive amounts of money doing this, to say the least. But my investment hopefully will be paid back in another way, maybe when time comes. So
karma.
You'll be
Karma
blessed. You can.
sucks.
When we get to the pearly gates, you're gonna get the fast track. I'm gonna hang out a little while. They're gonna have to make a decision whether I go up or down. But yeah, nothing happens by accident. Nothing happens by accident. I think, God. I believe in God. It's no secret. And I think, COVID was a tool for him to determine or have people decide for themselves whether or not they want to pursue being a doctor or a nurse or whatever, in any occupation. And some stayed, some left, and and I'm sure there's a whole bunch of new doctors that were developed because of COVID, and actually found that this was their calling. Some said, screw this, I can drive Uber. Some said, no, man, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And I think nothing happens by accident. So yeah, it's just pretty cool. Dr. Akiona?
Well, I saw, I don't think it was an accident that I ended up with Dr. Miscovich, because I honestly don't, it's every now and then I just kind of look back and I think about what happened, everything when things first started. And I think actually like the first, I was doing like a bunch of urgent care shifts at the time when things first started breaking out. And then, you know, he called the all staff meeting. You know, we all met. He had lunch. We had lunch, and you know, just kind of quickly announced what was happening. And for 2 years, I mean, like I broke down several times, and he, you know, he gave me the space to be a doctor, like to be a thinker, you know, to prioritize the things that I learned over time. And, like all of the stuff that I had done for health disparities and community health, and it's just like I felt like what he said. When I look back, I don't regret. I mean, I could have behaved better. You know, there are moments in time where choices I could have made better, but I don't regret it in terms of like all the work that we did. And I don't actually think we could have worked harder, and I don't think we could have. We did so much, right? And I think that there, when I look at it, you know, just financially, yeah, it's crazy. You know, to explain to other people the nature of our job, how much we've kind of bled out, right? So we're it's our heart that we're giving, right? And then, you know, what we get in return is basically like stories, right? So and I think that was the we I have a like people that I talk to on the side, but I mean, you know, we vent to each other. I think Doc sometimes has his calls with like Harry Kim. You know, we have all these different people that we have to keep contact with, and I think that that's our sanity right there. It's just one of those like we know that what we're doing is the right thing, and then, you know, like I think I was raised in faith too, so then it's kind of like one of those like, you know, what you're doing is right, so you know, you don't need people to tell you like do the right thing. Watching a lot of people do not great things, and then sometimes it feels lonely, right? Like it's just us against a lot of weird stuff. And I don't think it was a mistake that, you know, I was starting a street medicine thing. Josh Green actually was the link between me and Dr. Miscovich. If I didn't make that link and I didn't join Premier, I don't know that I think these 2 years would have been probably the end of my medical career, because I think about that. Like if I was on the outside and I wasn't part of Premier and I was just watching this, I cannot even imagine. You just feel so helpless. But I was lucky enough to be in a position with Premier where, you know, I was actually kind of empowered to do the right thing, and that's super rare in this time and age now. I mean, you know, to be in that spot where, you know, Doc says if it's the right thing, then let's just do it. And it blows some of my colleagues' minds that he took such a huge gamble. The impact is there, right? So we talked about, I mean, we had summarized the nursing homes, for example. You know, all the nursing homes that we Premier aggressively went into, we had no loss of life, and that's crazy because, you know, nationwide, we knew what the cost was, and we knew, you know, all of us are thinking of our own grandparents and our own uncles and aunties when we're taking care of these people, and explaining to people that the impact of what we did was nothing happening. That meant no death, no sickness, you know, all that kind of stuff. It's hard to quantify that. And so at the end of the days when things were hard, it was kind of heavy, right? We're just kind of sitting there and just thinking like 2 years is a lot. It's a lot of people you talk to and a lot of stories. And I think, you know, now I see, like, as I talk to Randy and Lisa, who you guys are going to meet on Wednesday, I realize like that might be our purpose, was to maybe have those stories to then, you know, encourage other people and help get their voices back to, I don't know, to you, to Mel and Charlie, and to the village, and just remind people that like exactly what you guys keep on saying, right? Is people are not just numbers, they're people. So I'm lucky. I think I'm very lucky.
Yeah. Um, yeah. What can I say? Gosh, you guys. No, you guys are angels. Like I said, you know, I think you can see the comments rolling, and I think a lot of people appreciate. We all appreciate the both of you and all our doctor friends, and you know, even the ones we don't agree with all the time. But you know, it's been a tough 2 years. And Dr. Miscovich, I mean, you know, I've called you when times weren't going well. You know, I just every time I lost a loved one or a friend, it just really upset me. And I remember, Doc, when you told me, hey, you need to call Harry Kim, and I did. And from that day forward, Harry became my Yoda. He became my Yoda, and he has such an amazing ability to take you from here to here and make you put everything into perspective and not take everything so deep. But it sucks when you lose a loved one. It sucks when you lose a loved one that you had been, you know, it sucks. And it just seemed to be happening a lot to me. Uh, and I couldn't fathom how others, maybe because it didn't happen to them, but even if I had not lost a loved one personally, I still could empathize with those that did. And I just was getting so frustrated because they weren't. And they were in fact bold enough to make statements that I actually took offense to, because it just seemed like they had no compassion for anybody except themselves. And that was rough, and it continues to be rough today. So you guys go through this every day. You have patients. You build a relationship with patients that are here today and gone tomorrow, and it happens often. And we've seen it with so many of the doctors that's been on this show. We can feel the PTSD that you guys are experiencing, and that's not a joke. You build a relationship and then they're gone, right? Because it is stupid virus. So I mean, I don't know how else to say it, but you guys are, God bless you folks, man. It's we're approaching the Easter weekend. A lot of time to reflect, and a lot of time to make, have that discussion with God. And I would encourage all of our villagers to, uh, you know, ask God for blessings on all of everyone, especially our healthcare workers, teachers, law enforcement, everybody. Because there's so many people that gave it all and continue to during this damn pandemic, and it's still not over. It's not over, guys. It's not over, man. But we love you guys, man. We love you guys a lot. Anything else? I know I kind of, I don't even. You guys, any other closing thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, I
Don?
think we no, I think we had a good. This is a great talk, and I think we had a great wrap. And and uh, and we're never giving up. Never giving up. I remember that talk that Dr. Akiona talked about. I remember it was March 13th of 2020. And that was when still people were even denying that there was COVID. And I had already bought in PPE, and we were doing the first drive-through test in the United States was done in Kaneohe, as they put on my CNN moniker for the first year. And we were already preparing to follow the South Korean model. And yeah, I'll remember that day forever, because that's when, we basically just talked about it's coming. It's coming, and I told the staff, if your health is at risk, or if you're pregnant, or if there's anything, you don't have to work, and I'm still going to pay you. This is important, and we're going to do this testing, and if you want to come out in the field, everybody who goes out in the field and exposes themselves for the benefit of the community got paid time and a half, and they still get that to this day. Every single soul that is out there in those testing lines, I pay them time and a half, because they were putting their lives on the line for their neighbors, for their family, and for the community. And we continued to do that, and these people continued. And you know what? They never did it for the money. It was just, I did it because I love them, and I appreciated them being willing to go out there and do it and sacrifice. And now I'll never forget that. I'll never forget all these amazing people and amazing volunteers. I know I met some of the people in this that are from the village, and then we had people just showing up and volunteers. In the early phases, we couldn't have done what we did because we were the only ones testing for the first 3-4 months. We were it in the whole state. We were flying to the Big Island, we were in Maui, we were all over Oahu, and we were the only ones testing probably almost for the first 6 months. And and the people just came out that just shared it. There were so many amazing volunteers that came together to do it. So,
as they say, Doc, it takes a village.
yeah.
It takes a village. Now, Doc Akiona, I got to ask you, what the hell were you doing with that stuffed dinosaur or whatever? You was tossing them in front of you, tossing them in the back. What is that thing?
There's just too many things. We have all these dolls. So
yeah, but I saw you grab them from the back and fly it in the front, and then you throw it. See, the public
there's
cannot.
too
The village
many.
cannot.
There's like this guy. See, it's Stitch. I just have too much stuff. Like,
okay, no, I thought you were taking your frustrations out on that poor whatever that thing is.
No, plus the dog. So because the dog's trying to make himself comfortable. But he cannot make he doesn't want Stitch. He doesn't want the Eeyore. I don't know. It's just we have a lot of buddies because my daughter is usually in here, and so it's her lounging area right here.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
there's Thumper. So yeah.
I don't have anything. Jesus, man, I don't have Snickers. I don't have anything. Nothing, man. Yeah, well. Boring. Anyway, folks, again, what a great night. I think this was great therapy for many of us, not just the three of us. I'm reading the comments, trying to catch up on the comments, and it was therapy for a lot of people. So Wednesday night, folks, Lisa Rance, Randy Kuwahara, we're going to be talking about that survey. Please share the post. Yeah, no, I got coffee, Janelle. I got my coffee. Oh, yeah. It's really good too.
Water back.
Yeah, the water comes later. Tonight I drink a lot of water tonight.
Okay.
But yeah, let's have some fun on Wednesday. Let's. I don't know if these two people know what they're in for, but we're gonna have some fun. But more so is the importance of getting everyone to participate in that survey, so we can let these guys know, let Department of Health know, and the hospitals know what are the real barriers. I haven't decided what we'll do for Friday. It's Good Friday. Probably not go on. I am thinking about bringing on a violinist and just listen to some violin music from our good friend Kimberly Hope. I haven't asked her yet, but I just saw one of her videos. And she's a phenomenal, amazing musician, and she plays that fiddle like you've never seen. I'm thinking about asking her to come on, although it is Good Friday. We may or may not have a show because I do want to respect those of you that want to celebrate and enjoy Good Friday. My dad will be here as well on Wednesday, so he'll be here to celebrate Easter with us, as well as his birthday next week. So anyway, yeah, we will get him on the camera.
Get him on co-hosting. He's got a co-host.
Yeah. He didn't want to do it when I was in Seattle, but you got to understand, he's still struggling with the loss of his wife, my stepmom. Yeah. So I want to get him on. I want you guys to meet him, and the guy is such a genuine human. You guys will love him. So anyway, with that, folks, Feel Good Friday. I really want to get back to the Feel Good Fridays. I really do. And I'm trying to process that as we speak. I lied when I said about the politics thing. I want to just thank all of you that jumped on our way and submitted your oh, look at my date, Mel. Okay, it's a possibility. he may be on. But yeah, for those of you that jumped on our website, our campaign website, and submitted your volunteer and send contributions, thank you. melforcouncil.org. If you guys haven't been there, go check it out. melforcouncil.org. All right, guys. You guys all. Oh, what happened to Misco? I see he popped out and popped back in. Whoop. Oh well, he's still here, but no video. Anyway, that was it. You guys all stay safe. God bless. Doc, thank you guys. We love you guys. Take care. Stay safe. We'll see you guys on Wednesday night, 7 p.m. Aloha.